What's up everyone, hope all is well. Pardon the dust as the Commerce Park layout is taking shape, and this video will actually double as a layout update as well, but I am here to show you the progress on FEC GP40-2 number 428, an Atlas model that was customized with additional LED units, a brand new decoder buddy board, and several other details and tweaks. The unit is part of the Atlas Masterline series, where they sell HO scale, fairly detailed models, complete with several detailed parts, but it's pretty much around the category of an Athearn RTR model. It's not like a Genesis or a Scale Trains rivet counter, as not every detail comes with the model. And that being said, the number one thing that the 428, which was released late last year, in this paint scheme was missing are the ditch lights, so I had to add them myself. And the process, to be quite honest, is pretty simple. I followed Josh Clark's tutorial on using Detail Associate ditch lights and mounting them on the pilot and drilling the necessary holes into the engine to run 603 LEDs through, and they will be routed to a decoder buddy that's located inside the long hood of the engine. Shown here is a setup on a similar locomotive, FEC 419, which came in the same run. I was able to apply much of the same detail to 428, however I was unsuccessful at the attempt to upgrade the LEDs. And part is because, I guess the way I wired it initially, this is probably its second decoder buddy. I had fried the decoder by accident, and I also messed up the decoder buddy because I guess there was solder bleed between the track pickup and the speaker. So that's what it looks like at the end of the decoder buddy. Let's zoom in and hopefully it focuses. You can kind of see what it looks like. Now this installation does work. It's successful with the Lokesound 5, but I'm going to be a little careful before I add the other piece. And this is one of the advantages of using a decoder buddy, is that you get to apply as many LEDs and details as you want and keep most of those details separately attached with the shell of the locomotive. If I use a standard Lokesound 5 that was not like the miniature size, if it was like the long size with the clips and all that, I don't think this would be possible, and there would be a lot of hassle having a tethered shell next to the motor. Now, while the 21-pin Lokesound decoder comes with all of the necessary connections to allow for 21 functions, it's much easier with the decoder buddy because of this small piece which clips onto a series of pins on the decoder buddy board, shown right over here. There are several tutorials showing this online, so I'm not going to get into grave detail on this. However, I might show some of the progress when I do another locomotive very soon. These allow 12 lighting functions to be supported via anode and cathode connections. The larger ones are the anode, and those are the ones that specifically map to the auxiliary channel. And then the smaller ones on the side, which are a real pain to work with, are the cathodes, where the positive end will come out of. The long lead of the LEDs, the 603 LEDs, will map to those smaller connections, and then the short lead maps to the bigger connections. So my understanding is having it set up this way gives less significance to the positive end. Of course, if you don't have a negative to drop to, there's no current, there's no electricity, so having a certain way will allow the function to work. However, you gotta still be careful because I've had bleed happen and it caused multiple lighting functions to map to the same channel, and it was kind of messy, and that even happened with the 428 at one point. Aside from the Detail Associate ditch lights, I added the correct plow, which you can probably see better on the 419. This is Details West PL207. It's like a weed cutter plow. They described the prototype as for Santa Fe, but every FEC Jeep has it. I added smoke box graphics safety stripes on the side. The white model, I think it's number 4, and it's all over the 428 as well. I think you can tell from looking at the video the slight shine on them. You have to point the light a certain way to get the shine out of it. And one of the newest details that I've added is the Wabtec PTC antennas, which are this piping here, as well as these receivers here, and a small little receiver over there. I don't know, receiver, transmitter, I don't know which does which, to be honest. These have been added on FEC engines within the last 6 to 7 months. They're dominating their entire roster, and thankfully there's a model from CMR Products that's available, 3D printed. Just be aware you might lose the little piece that goes up front here, but these pieces are available, and you just paint them black using your favorite acrylic paint and apply them like so. And then these have a wind deflector on the 419, which will allow any of the exhausts to swing upwards so that the AC units don't contaminate the cab with soot. Now the 428 actually doesn't have it, but I think the prototype has a different unit here that will protect the crew members. Other than that, this run was pretty good. I think these are pretty solid pullers. They don't have the best pulling power, but they do pretty well. However, I was a little disappointed that a lot of the paint was easy to come off, and even with simple gluing efforts, I would smudge some blue paint onto the white. And add to that, it's very hard to replicate the blue on the long hood. When painting the ditch lights, I used a very artificial shade of blue. I even tried to use Crew Color Grand Trunk Western Blue. I'd rather airbrush it, but I got lazy, and I just had to. I couldn't get it down really solid. But the ditch lights will not be the most visible detail, and they didn't come out too bad, looking at 419's example. Now, because of the fiasco with some of these low sound decoders, I either took an existing decoder from a locomotive and blanked it out, resetting all of the sound and decoder outputs, or just ordered some blank ones and programmed them. One of the nice advantages is if you hit F7, this comes when you download the standard sound file, you get to hear the flanges squealing, which is pretty cool. And if you watch my videos of FEC train switching, this is all that you hear. And of course, with the custom sound outputs, you get to even set a directional dependence of the horn. Going forward, I have the K3L, K3H, whatever, K3HA. There's a 3-chime Nathan air horn up front, that's for sure. And going backwards, which I'll just do it kind of brute force here. Right now, the default, I could add a custom later. Leslie S3L. And I mean, this isn't too bad because this does sound loud and obnoxious, which is pretty much the standard case for FEC's Jeep fleet in the rear, because you gotta have the crew be able to hear the horn, and maybe the wind can deflect some of that noise. There was one more minor change, which was a little painful. The entire Atlas run uses Arial numbers for the font, and I had some Helvetica numbers left over and had to order a decal for a different locomotive. Actually, it was a CN locomotive in Grand Trunk, and unfortunately the size didn't match, but it's so close that it's pretty much negligible from a far distance. Now we'll get a little technical as to the lighting functions and how I map them out. Going forward, I have the full headlight and ditch light on. Number boards are on. I actually lock the number boards to F8. So if I turn off the lights, yeah, there's still some bleed. I mean, I'm not gonna make a big fuss out of the bleed that's there. If you're running a bright setting, it's hardly noticeable. So F8, just like a scale train's engine, does the number boards on both sides. If you have a master out of the box in Gold Series, you will have it only on the side that your headlight is on. So the headlights map is wired separately, turns on. Ditch lights are F6, and when I change the direction, front ditch lights turn off, rear ditch lights turn on, but I also have F5 engaged. So if I don't have F5, the rear headlight will turn on, but I mapped F5 and F0 to have both directions on, which is something I sometimes see on FEC trains. I'm not exactly sure if the rear ditch lights and headlights are on when an engine is switching, has cars behind it, and shoves back, but I'm leaving this on as is for now, and I can always change it if I desire. And of course, horn is direction dependent, just like the model. And also, just like the Scale Train CSX engines, I've gone over this on several videos. I adjust the ditch light flash rates and flash length using CVs 112 and 132. Setting 112 to 20, or a value close to there, will speed up the flash, whereas the default is very slow. It's like, I think it's set to 32 and it's like a very slow flash. And setting 132 to 255 will give it pretty much a full grade crossing sequence. Now we introduce the layout more so. This is Commerce Park. We're going to do a little switch move with the 428. I'm going to pull that empty center beam from Banner Supply. It's a very condensed version of Commerce Park. This spur that goes to Banner would be much longer, and Banner would be farther from 25th, but I was able to wisely condense it so it would just be right there with a single car spot. In real life you could fit maybe 3 center beams. I just went with 1 for selective compression, and it is a switchback spur, so the train has to travel on a separate track, pull up to a switch, and then shove back, just like in real life. And it will cross 25th Street twice, which is the street that is being doused in Smooth-It. On the right, where the NS boxcar is Omni Transloading and Logistics. They handle a lot of boxcar business. They can handle pretty much most commodities, but commonly transload beer, and in the past they have transloaded lumber, steel, and other materials. So I'm going to show some run-by footage. I'm going to leave the wall cars behind, and we're going to pull that center beam. I really hope you have enjoyed this layout update and model train video, and I really look forward to sharing more with you soon. If you can, please leave a like and a comment on this video. I would like to hear what you guys think, and if you want to see more, just make sure you're subscribed. Till next time, from Commerce Park, this is TE out.